After looking at a real life example of using Mockito, let's now dig deeper into the Mockito framework. What we'll do is we'll use a list interface. List is one of the collections interfaces which is present in Java, right? So what we'll do is we'll try to mock it and also make it return variety of values and try to understand the Mockito framework further. Let's get started now. I'll create a new class. I'll call it JUnit test case. I'll call this list mock test and let's click finish. Over here, let's get started with creating a mock for a list class because it's a very simple mock that I would want to create. I'm not going to use a run with annotation and all that kind of stuff. Let's keep it very simple. So I'll say list mock is equal to mock of list dot class, right? So that's how we create a mock. I need to add a oops, I don't want Java AWT list. What I would want is Java util list, right? And now I can import the mock annotation as well. Static import. I would do mock.mockito.star import static. Okay, this is cool. Let's organize the imports. We have a mock of a list class created. What I would want to do typically is we would want the mock to do a few things, right? So mock, so when, what would typically do? When add static import, when mock dot, let's say I would want to mock the size method. So when mock dot size is called, what I would want it to return, I'd want to return 5. So what would happen is assert equals, when I call mock.size, what would be the value that is returned? You know, it's very simple, right? Let's add a static import for it. Yeah, it would return 5 back. So if I run this test, you'd see that the test would succeed, right? So nothing magical in here. This is typically what we have done until now. You have created a mock of the interface. We said, okay, when size method is called, return 5. And then it returns 5 back, right? So this is simple Mockito test, basic, right? So I just say basic with, I'll say size, basic, right? Nothing that's special in there. Now, what I would want to do is I would want to make the mock return multiple values at different time. Return different values. How do I do that? The way I can do that is saying dot then return 5 and then dot then return 10. What would happen? The first time assert equals the mock.size is called, the value which will be returned is 5. But the second time you call mock.size, the value which will be returned is 10. Let's see what would happen here. Right click, run as JUnit test. The test succeeds because the first time it returns 5 back. The second time it returns 10 back. When the same method needs, you would want it to return different values, you can do something of this kind. One of the important things to realize is until now, we were not using any parameters at all, right? So we can also create mocks for methods accepting parameters as well. So I can say test public void return with parameters. So how do we do that? Let's move this mock out. Let's create the mock directly in here so that I don't really need to do it in every method. What I would want to do is say list.get of 0. I would want it to return a specific value. So how do I do that? So when mock.get of 0, what I would want to do is then return, let's just say in 28 minutes, right? So what would happen when I say, let's copy this down here and say assert equals in 28 minutes, comma, mock.get 0. Does this work? Let's run this. That's cool, right? The test is succeeding. So this is written in 28 minutes. But what would happen if, say, mock.get of 1? What would happen? Will this test succeed? Let's check it out. It fails. It's saying it's null. So one of the important things is when you specify specific parameters, then it will only expect that value to return this. So if you call mock with a parameter of 0, then you get in 28 minutes back. Otherwise, any other parameter, you'd get the default value, null. The important thing is, by default, over here, if you're not stubbing a specific thing in an object, you would get a null back. In this step, we looked at various tips related to mocking. We started with mocking the list interface. We looked at how to return multiple values from the same method. We looked at how to return a string back. And then we looked at what would happen if I mock it with a specific parameter. We saw that the default value is returned for all the other parameter values. We'll continue with a number of more tips in the next step. Until then, bye-bye.